The grand marble columns of the United States Supreme Court loomed over the bustling crowd of lawyers, journalists, and onlookers gathering outside. The day's case had already captured national attention, not because of its technicalities, but because of the fiery young congresswoman who had been invited to argue a point of law that many thought was far beyond her political role. Jasmine Crockett, known for her sharp tongue in the House of Representatives and her fearless debates, had been granted rare permission to present her argument in front of the 9 justices. It was unusual, even historic. Some had laughed at the idea. Others believed it was a publicity stunt. But Crockett walked into the chamber with the same determination that had carried her through the halls of Congress. Chief Justice John Roberts, ever composed and deliberate, adjusted his glasses as the session began. He had heard the chatter surrounding Crockett. Some called her reckless. Some praised her as a rising star. But as the gavel came down, all Roberts cared about was the strength of the argument. The opposing counsel, a seasoned attorney representing a powerful corporation, delivered a carefully structured statement. Every sentence was polished, rehearsed, and wrapped in decades of legal precedent. The courtroom nodded along, the air thick with the expectation that this side was the obvious victor. Then it was Jasmine's turn. She rose from her seat, adjusting the simple navy suit she had chosen for the occasion. No flashy jewelry. No unnecessary notes. Just a single binder in her hand and the weight of a nation watching. "May it please the court," she began, her voice calm but resolute. From the first sentence, Roberts felt something different. She wasn't speaking like a politician trying to score soundbites. She wasn't fumbling through technical jargon. She was weaving a narrative, one rooted in law, but alive with the human stories behind the case. She cited precedents with precision, but every citation was tied to a living reality, a person whose rights were at stake. As she moved deeper into her argument, murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Even Justice Alito, who often wore a mask of impatience, leaned forward with unexpected interest. Justice Sotomayor gave a small nod at one of Jasmine's points, clearly impressed. Roberts himself felt his eyebrows rise when Crockett tackled a particularly thorny precedent. Most lawyers tiptoed around it, fearful of contradiction. Jasmine, however, dismantled it piece by piece, showing not only why it had been misapplied in the past but why justice demanded a re-examination in the present. Her tone sharpened. "If the law is to mean anything," she declared, "it cannot be twisted to shield power while ignoring the powerless. Otherwise, we are not protecting the Constitution, we are abandoning it." The chamber fell silent. Reporters froze, their pens hovering above notepads. Even the opposing counsel glanced down at his notes, suddenly unsure. Roberts exchanged a quick look with Justice Kagan. It was the kind of look that passed in spoken meaning, "She's onto something here." By the time Jasmine finished, the courtroom seemed to breathe out all at once. She closed her binder gently, gave a respectful nod to the justices, and returned to her seat without the slightest hint of triumphalism. She had not come to perform. She had come to win on principle. Roberts cleared his throat. His voice, measured as always, carried more weight than the gavel itself. "Congresswoman Crockett," he said slowly, surprising everyone by breaking the usual rhythm of proceedings, "the court thanks you for your clarity. That was one of the most compelling presentations we've heard in recent sessions." Gasps echoed across the chamber. A Chief Justice did not praise arguments in open court, not like this. It was almost unheard of. Jasmine remained composed, though her heart raced. She had expected resistance, maybe even disdain. Praise was the last thing on her mind. But in that moment, the courtroom shifted. She was no longer the outsider, the politician daring to step into the highest legal arena. She was the advocate who had earned the respect of the Chief Justice himself. The moment Chief Justice Roberts spoke those words, the atmosphere inside the chamber changed forever. Courtrooms are usually sterile, formal places, where praise and emotion are stripped away in favor of procedure. But Roberts' acknowledgement had broken the silence like thunder. Even the court clerks exchanged astonished glances. Jasmine Crockett, though outwardly calm, felt a rush of energy course through her veins. For years she had been called brash, loud, or too political. She had endured being underestimated and dismissed. Yet now, in the most prestigious court in the land, her work had not only been heard but respected. As she exited the courtroom after adjournment, the press swarmed her like bees to honey. Microphones stretched out, cameras flashed, and voices overlapped. Congresswoman Crockett, did you expect such praise from the Chief Justice? Do you think your argument changed the outcome today? What message do you want Americans to take away from this? Jasmine held her composure. This wasn't about me, she told the reporters. This was about the law, about fairness, about making sure our Constitution protects real people. If the Chief Justice or anyone else found value in my words, then I hope it's because the principles we all swore to uphold were made clearer today. Her answer only fueled the headlines. By the evening, news outlets across the country were ablaze. Roberts praises Crockett, courtroom stunned by unlikely advocate. From Congress to the court, Crockett earns rare respect. A star is born in the Supreme Court. Behind closed doors, however, Roberts himself sat in his chambers, reflecting on the day. He had seen thousands of lawyers argue before the court, some brilliant, some mediocre. But there was something undeniable about Jasmine's approach. It wasn't just the sharpness of her reasoning, it was her ability to anchor the abstract law in the heartbeat of the people it served. He found himself replaying her words. If the law is to mean anything, it cannot be twisted to shield power while ignoring the powerless. It struck him because it was both a legal point and a moral one. Roberts had built his career on the idea that the court must stay above politics, yet here was a politician reminding him that law divorced from morality is nothing but paper. Meanwhile, the opposing counsel sat in his office, pacing in frustration. He had assumed victory was inevitable. He had the weight of precedent, decades of experience, and the confidence of a corporation behind him. And yet, one congresswoman had shifted the narrative. His phone rang constantly, clients, colleagues, even rivals calling to ask how he had been outmaneuvered by someone they claimed had no business being in the courtroom. In the days that followed, the nation debated not only the case but also the meaning of Roberts' praise. Some critics accused him of favoritism, saying it was inappropriate for a Chief Justice to single out one side. Others applauded the transparency, arguing that it showed honesty about the power of argument. For Jasmine, the experience became more than a headline. She returned to Congress with renewed confidence, greeted by colleagues who whispered congratulations or shook her hand warmly. Some who had doubted her before now treated her with newfound respect. One evening, during a private dinner with a close friend, Jasmine admitted the truth. I didn't walk in expecting Roberts to praise me. Honestly, I braced for the opposite. But when he said those words, I realized something important. It's not about titles, not about seniority. It's about the courage to argue what you believe is right, and to do it with everything you have. The case itself went through deliberation for weeks. When the decision finally came, it reflected many of the points Jasmine had raised. While the court's majority opinion did not cite her directly, legal analysts pointed out how strikingly similar the reasoning was to her presentation. Roberts, writing for the majority, included a passage that echoed her sentiment. The Constitution cannot be wielded as a weapon to favor the powerful while leaving the vulnerable defenseless. Its purpose is justice, and justice must be seen, heard, and delivered. Those words reverberated across the country, and every journalist knew where they had first been spoken, from Jasmine Crockett's lips in that courtroom. In the aftermath, law schools invited her to speak, legal scholars analyzed her method, and young advocates cited her as inspiration. She had walked into the Supreme Court as a politician, she walked out as a voice for justice that even the Chief Justice could not ignore. As for Roberts, he rarely allowed himself moments of sentiment, but late one evening, he confided in a clerk, "We see hundreds of arguments a year, and most fade into routine memory. But every so often, someone reminds us why we sit in those chairs at all." Today, that was Congresswoman Crockett. The clerk nodded, sensing the weight of the statement. And so, in a courtroom where history is written in quiet deliberations and heavy silence, one unexpected argument had broken through, not with anger, not with politics, but with truth. And the Chief Justice's stunned praise ensured that it would never be forgotten.